All right, welcome back, everyone. I know probably a couple people are still trailing in, and we're as close to on time as we can be, I think. So I'd like to now continue on with the next portion of the boot camp. And so far this morning, we've largely been on a theme of where things start, the idea generation, and following on with Charles Wang and the kind of his case version of how to start, how things start. I'd like to now introduce Stefan Pieraldi. Stefan is an industry fellow with CET. He's an instructor in Center for Entrepreneurship and Technology, and he's a highly accomplished serial entrepreneur and speaks from both the academic as well as an industry perspective. And he's going to lead us through another view of idea generation. So, Stephen, please.
Great. Thank you, Nikolai. I put this up just in case anybody hasn't seen my website. It's mylastname.com, so it'll you can answer all of your otherwise thoughtful questions through that website, I hope. But today, we're talking about why is it important to work with you? And I want to start with this today because I think a lot of times when you're in the Berkeley bubble, you forget how incredibly important your contribution is and your success is, and that's why you're in this program, because you're all very, very smart people. And these charts show that, right? One of them is that the earnings increase by becoming a college graduate, that there are more college graduates every year. But more importantly, I want to point out that this is a never-ending learning cycle. This class and this program really points that out, that it's a dynamic learning cycle. Don't give it up. Because if you fall behind the curve, it's really hard to catch up. So your education, as this chart shows, doesn't end just because I got a job and I went through a certain kind of opportunity curve and then it drops off. It shows that continuous learning gives us the highest opportunity to succeed throughout our career. And that's why I get to announce today, although it's confidential, you won't see it in the public media for another week. I'm actually joining a new startup. So another startup, this will be my 10th startup. And the thing I want to point out is that it's not a simple startup either. It's a very complex startup. We're going to solve a very important problem around real net congestion and real connectivity security issues. So it's a very prime service that goes all the way down to level 2. And it does things like visualization and network optimization. It's a highly scientific exploit. And the current marketing spin is that single point of management, and that's the team. What's unique about this? Well, I've worked with almost every one of those people in my career. So as an entrepreneur, you get the benefit, if you're consistent in your performance, of having people call you back and say, I'm doing something super, super cool that's going to change the world. You have one cup of coffee and you're into a new opportunity. To give you an example, I just left one company I haven't left yet. I'm actually transitioning to the board. And I've been with them for 2 years, and it's a firmware embedded system in the test and measurement business. So always value the skills of entrepreneurship because they bring to you incredible opportunities. And if you're really into this, you never lose your passion, and I'm 10 into it. So let's get on with the ideas, which a lot of people call the fluff. This isn't fluff. You should never stop doing this. So the whole precursor of these last 2 slides is to instruct you on always doing it. Always ideate. Never stop. Because it's not only the thing that gets you started, and you've heard a lot about getting started, it's the thing that allows you to recreate. Most businesses you know today are recreations. They're not what they were when they started. And that didn't happen because somebody said, well, I've done it, brushed their fingers off, and said, I've done all the ideation I'm going to do, and let's just move on. They continually try to ideate, and those are unique people. Of course, everyone's going to point to Steve Jobs, but the less sexy Nokia was a lumber company when it started. A lumber company. Now, unfortunately, it's a Microsoft company. So there's two approaches, and what CET and the courses that you're taking and the process that you're involved in really draws a line between the two types. And I know this is a wordy slide. Please don't try to read it. We'll put it up on the doc thing. But the point is that there's two types, and one of them is inductive and one of them is deductive. And one takes the teacher as the focus point, which I have to do a certain amount of that to transmit knowledge to you. I'm doing that now. The other part is that you're going to experience it. And that's the theme we want to constantly push forward in this program, that you're going to experience it, do it, and then you're going to reflect on the opportunity. And that's the two types of learning that we're trying to change. And this model shows it. But I put this part. Step 1, do the work. Step 2, experience outcomes. Discuss models and alternatives. Don't actually follow models. In engineering, one of the things that you're taught very concretely is, here's a model. Now, go over here and work within that model or find gaps in that model. Rinse, wash, repeat. We're saying, not quite that. Go and experience it. We'll give you a direction. Come back, and then find out what you experienced and how we can help that experience perhaps make it better next time. And that's one of the reasons we're doing this program. It's a very important difference because that's exactly how startups happen. If you think about it, a startup, by definition, does not have a model it's following, or you're not doing a startup, are you? It's, everybody's created a laundromat, so I'll innovate, and I'm going to change the colors on the laundromat to attract new people because that's the model. That's not exciting, and it's probably not even entrepreneurial. It's not changing the game. Now, somehow making it, I suppose, Uber for your laundromat would be interesting, where you have a laundromat in your house called a washer-dryer, and you haven't used it in a while, so you loan it out on what? Uber? Or on the other one? What's that rental one? I always forget. What's that? Oh, Airbnb. You guys are awake. I just want to make sure. So Airbnb being your laundry room, that would be revolutionary. But here's the thing we want to put across today. Do not, please, do not start this process by contrasting rights and wrongs. Your idea is just one of a lot of ideas. A lot of ideas you have, a lot of ideas your team has, and a lot of ideas that you're going to put together. This is not following the model to find a right and wrong answer. This is the inductive model, whereas an entrepreneur, you're going to lead to consensus and hopefully get action. And that's really what the driving power of the model is. You do not want to simply put your idea up and say, my idea is the best idea. I'll entertain your view, but my idea still is the best. How many people have worked for somebody like that? Raise your hands. Come on, don't be shy. Come on. What, 20 of you? 20? Come on. More of you? How many people have gone to work one day and they thought for sure they had an idea that was going to change the company or at least their department? How many? Okay, more hands, about twice as many hands went up. And how many of those hands did somebody come to you and say, man, that sounds like a great idea, let's put it to work? How many? What, like way less. You know what that says? It doesn't happen. I know you guys are in a food coma, so we'll just try to skip through some of the boring stuff. So the dead pool. Whoops. There we are. So how to start. You've heard a lot about that. The first thing we're going to ask you to do in this exercise is to post your idea or ideas. I know some of you come to this program with a team, you've won awards, everything is just set, and you're here to find out how to be entrepreneurial and take it to the next step. And that's nice. But it's not everything. And it's not how you pivot. So today's exercise, even if you're that group, or you're an unaligned expert, you just have an idea and you haven't quite put it out there yet, this is your chance to do that. Now, in the normal class I teach, unfortunately, it's a very compressed format, and we have a victim of my class here, so he should excel today. It's difficult because we have a very limited amount of time. Today, you're going to have a little bit more expansion, and you're going to be able to do a little bit more of the ideation. But don't assume your idea is the right idea, and definitely, if you're not someone in a group that has an idea, the goal by this class is to find a place for you to finish this experiment, because I'm going to check on you tomorrow. So the key is to ideate, sell, so build internal support of the new team members, reduce those ideas to the most problem-solving and interesting ideas. We all want to solve problems. We all think we're going to solve some kind of great problem, cancer, right? But if it turns out that we try to solve cancer and it kills 2/3 of the patients, that's probably not the greatest solution, right? So we're going to want to come up with other ideas. And it's amazing how incremental ideas improve efficacy in all things remarkably well. Remarkably well. That doesn't mean you shouldn't, as an entrepreneur, use your idea to drive home the point. The previous example is a great use case, right? They had an idea, and they kept pivoting until what? Until they discovered that actually building a rock-themed motif was going to get them to the finish line, and they did it. There was a core idea that they drove to the finish line, but it took pivoting, and it took new ideas, and it took a lot of dedication to get through the gate. Ideation is all of that. Refine any complementary ideas as close as you can together. So if you have a whole pool of ideas and it's a group of 10 people and you think, well, we've got a lot of ideas, yeah, okay, how many of these are like the other idea? And I always call it the Sesame Street game. How many of you grew up watching Sesame Street? Some of these things look like another, right? Who knows that song? That's the song you want to play. Hey, thank you, 2 people. You want to get up and do it for me? All right, so that's the whole point. You want to try to find things that are similar enough that you can live with them, and then we'll talk about the dead pool, and this is really important. The dead pool is critically important. You want to take every idea, no matter what, and put it in a thing that you can call the dead pool. Call it anything you want. Some people have much nicer names. I like to call it the dead pool because it's almost like people feel that they lost something. I always love seeing the first time I put the dead pool up, and one of my engineering team members or something, they're like, oh, I really believe that, we need to have telepathy in the product. I'm like, how's that going to work? I don't know, but I swear I can code it. Okay, well, I'm sure that's going to be really difficult, and it's going to take a lot of cycles. Kind of go with me a little bit more on the whole telepathy thing. And the answer is, I'm still not sure. Okay, let's put that in the dead pool, and then watch their face change. Dead pool? My baby's going in the dead pool? I've been thinking about this since I was 4. And you're going to put it in the dead pool? Yeah, their answer is yes, I'm going to put it in the dead pool. Because I am not actually going to just dismiss you and get rid of it. I'm actually going to put it someplace so that we can find it again. And we'll call it like idea archaeology. And a year from now, we're going to go through a whole list of stuff to craft, and then we're going to find out that, hey, we kept a record. There were some good ideas back in the day. It wasn't all just smoking crack and sitting in a room. Turns out we can change the world. Who knew? Catalog ideas into bins. At least put them into bins that make some sense. Don't just create one time we created a dead pool, and I gave the engineering team and I gave my senior staff the idea of just go ahead and do it any way you want, not thinking that there were as many permutations as people in the room. And one of them said, we're going to put everything up on sticky notes. It's going to be great. And then I walked in the room and I found a dustbin with all the sticky notes just piled into one bin. I said, well, that's going to make it really hard to do archaeology later because it's going to be like finding fossils smashed on top of each other. And they're like, no, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. Of course, 6 months later, where do I find them? They're shaking the bin out in the middle of one of the meeting rooms, and they're like, I think it was in here somewhere, and they're tearing all the paper. So it helps to put it in different bins. The benefits are that people feel heard and acknowledged. Do not discount the power of even your senior staff, your partners, the people you founded this company with, thinking that they've been heard and that they can reflect back on that. Not so much to say, see, I told you so. that acquisition was the stupidest thing in the world, and I told you so. No, that's not the thing you want to do. But you do want to have it so that people say, hey, you know, when we talked about doing version A versus version B, and I'm not really sure, I was pretty wedded to B, there were some good ideas in B. What was that? You can go back to this Deadpool spreadsheet, website, Confluence, make it as complex as you want, and you can find that information and utilize those little gems that otherwise get lost. New people, now this is the one that I can't advocate more. You know, new people come onto a project. Now, how many of you are actual engineers? How many? That's enough. How many times when you do an engineering project and you made some very serious cost value benefits, you hire a new person on the team and they do this? Oh, I'm so excited. I spent all weekend working on this project and here are my 10 great ideas. And you go, yeah, about that. We got those. And they don't work. And here's why. How many of you have had that problem as engineers? Just one? Come on, really? Really? You didn't hire somebody on your team and they go, oh no, I've really looked at your use cases and your business case studies and I think we could turn it purple and it's going to be great. And you go, yeah, purple. Yeah, no, we did that. It doesn't work. It helps the new people get up to speed more quickly. And it helps them understand what you went through getting to where you are. And that's very important, especially on the business side. So I'm using engineering as a little bit of a poke. But when you look at investment theses and you're trying to figure out who to invest and who to have invest in your company, these ideas around your core idea start to get contaminated. And one day, you'll have to straighten it all out. And if somebody new comes on the team and says, I think we should go to Mayfield, and you go, yeah, we kind of went to Mayfield, except for I threw up in their boardroom. And they go, oh, that's probably not going to work, is it? And you're like, yeah, it's not going to work. So you know where to start from. And then ideas were not possible should have triggers to become active when things change. If you can at all do it, put a trigger or two against an idea that you had in the past and say, you know, if these conditions turn positive, we should actually do that. Like, I have $1 billion to do telepathy. Yeah, now let's go do telepathy. But it takes $1 billion, right? So if you know that you have ideas that take some requirement or some need, and that need or requirement is fulfilled, you can recycle those good ideas into positive benefits for the company later on. You will be surprised if you follow this simple exercise how many ideas come out of the dead pool and get reborn. I've had it as high as 25 to 30%. So here are the steps for phase one. And we're going to go a little bit back and forth here so you can absorb a little bit. I'm saying it over and over again. A little bit of what to do and then a little bit of theory. Choose perspective. Do individual idea generation. So get your perspective. What's the customer? What problem am I solving? And is this idea really, really going to make, you know, everyone interested? Just before you sell it, because you're going to have to sell it. Individual idea generation is you thinking through the problem. Just don't look at the list and say, oh, yeah, no, that doesn't look good. Okay, and leave. Try to put some other effort into it. Because a lot of times you'll find that if you spend a 30-second moment looking at an idea, you'll come up with two others. Parking is an example. Last year we did a parking app. We went round and round the horn on the parking app, and about 3 of the guys came up with 2 ideas, and they just kept thinking about it and thinking about it. Eventually that, you know, propelled the company to some success. Do an idea presentation. We'll do an idea assessment of those presentations today. You're going to present at the end of a little moment. You're going to go out there. I'm going to give you some time. I'm going to walk amongst you with my helpers, my friendly helpers. And we're going to help you get your ideas solidified and your teams picked and make sure there's no one, hopefully, who is sitting on the outside. We want everybody to have a seat at the table. And then you're going to come up here very quickly, and you're going to give a quick presentation about your idea. As quick as you can. Hopefully, how many people you know what an elevator pitch is? Okay. An elevator pitch is, thank you for knowing, something that's quick and easy. I get in an elevator, and I'm stuck with somebody, and they look at me, and they go, what do you do? And I start a, War and Peace story, right? There isn't an elevator ride long enough to endure that pain. So you really just want to say, we do great things. And here's the great thing. And people go, okay, great. Now I want to know more. That's an elevator pitch. Okay? But in perspective, and I highlight perspective out of that list, what are you trying to get when you have perspective? And here's what I like to say. How many of you licked a 9-volt battery? You know, it's amazing. We used to do this. I'm really getting old. No? Not you either? Yeah, man, that's too bad. Go home and lick a 9-volt battery. That's your homework. Okay? It's harmless, not going to kill you, but you're going to get a little shock out of it. That's when you know you have a good idea. That feeling, trust me, I've done it a lot. Sometimes when you sit there and you go up and somebody says, hey, I got a great idea. It's going to be herding ants. I'm like, what? Ants? Herding ants? Really? That's your idea? That's your own? No. This is really good because we're not doing it with sugar. That doesn't make me do this, right? I want something that makes me just jolt, something that makes me go crazy instantly. And if I have that chemical response, I know I'm on the right track. Now, that always means that I'm going to go through the depression. Everybody does. There's the curve. Right? And you go through and you go, that was a great idea. You wake up in the morning and you go, no, it wasn't. I wish I could change my name. No, that's not always going to happen. But it is a good indicator that you're on the right track. So today, when you're trying to think of these ideas and you're shopping it to someone else, don't sit there and think, oh, so here's my idea. And the other people go, okay, I bet you it's a little better if you can give it some sharp pizzazz. But you need perspective because it's on the customer pain and you need some empathy. You heard this earlier. You need some empathy with your customer. You need to understand that their pain is your pain, that their pain is real pain, and you're trying to solve their pain. Now remember, most people, most customers, most businesses resist change. They resist it, right? They have a better idea for every reason in the book. Look at car interfaces. Everybody here drive a car or have driven a car? Who has not driven a car? Right? And when you look at the radio, what strikes you? Doesn't it look almost the same almost all the time? It's a masterful, mediocrity, isn't it? Oh, this is such a great car. I bought this super great Lamborghini, and here is the same radio I had on a Ford Pinto. Marks on consistency. But here's the deal. They're resisting that change because they don't want to change. There's too much cost. There's no ecosystem. There's all the things you heard about before. And your idea to make it a revolutionary new opportunity isn't going to move them. It is not going to be successful unless you can show them that you feel their pain because you're coming from outside of industry. Now, Tesla and Elon Musk have the benefit of coming in and saying, look, we really don't care about you. We're going to build it our way. And here's an iPad for a dash, and here's the way we're going to do it. But most everyone else has to go through the pain of convincing the customer, yeah, I know I'm from the computer industry, but I can make a better radio, I swear. I swear. I swear it won't kill people, I swear. I'm an engineer, I know, but I drive cars. I have a lot of use case experience with them. And you know what the CEO of GM says, right? Nice, come back when you've done it. So you want to have a brainstorming session. Here's the thing. You want to try to get many ideas. Now, again, I'm saying that some of you have come to this particular course with the idea that you've already won. Now, I'm going to challenge you in a very specific way. If you're sitting here right now, and you don't have to tell me, I'm not going to don't raise hands. I mean, in fact, don't tell me who you are. Because the next thing I'm going to say is going to make you mad. I want to challenge you to think that your idea plain sucks. already. I don't care if you've won, because if you think you won, you lost. Let me tell you again. If you think your idea has already won an award, an accolade, investment, anything, you have already lost the entrepreneurial race. Because real entrepreneurs, frankly, are very insecure. We never think our ideas are really good. We do for a minute, but it's kind of like that drink at night, right? This was a really good idea to have that last shot. And then the next morning you wake up and you want to change your name, right? It's always that way for real entrepreneurs. People who get up in the morning and come in and say, oh my God, I keep a notepad. I keep it right here, right by my bed. And I wrote down the formula for cold fusion. You betcha. It's just going to take me a lot of money and time to mature my vision. Most of the time, even if it was the solution to cold fusion, nobody buys it. So always, 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 please, don't think your idea is the best. Get as many ideas as you can, and if you're the entrepreneurial lead, encourage your staff to constantly do it through games, through contests, through interaction. Whatever model you can do it, do it. Don't start an engineering meeting with, well, I'd like to show you my idea, and you can contribute parts to it. Give them a use case and try to have them give you ideas. What's my problem? How can I solve it? How can you solve it? And constantly take the ideas in. Of course they're not all going to win, but don't build a culture like there's winners, going back to that original slide. Build a culture of consensus, you included. Defer judgment. There are no bad ideas. When I'm seeing you out here today, what I want are no bad ideas. Now, that's not to say there aren't foolish ideas. Silly, crazy ideas. Ideas that when somebody says it, they go, ha, 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 what? Huh? What'd you say? What part of that made any sense? And let the person try to say what they mean. Because sometimes that is the great idea. Something that you completely, and especially for us engineers, who do not like orthogonal thinking, right? We like linear thinking. We love this argument. I'm going to give you an idea. I'm going to tell you my assumptions. And I'm going to tell you my rationales. And at the end, you're going to keep saying yes until we have all said yes. And then we're done. Isn't that a great session? No, it's not. Because what's happened is you've just succinctly brainwashed your staff into agreeing with you because you signed their paycheck. That is the surest way to destroy a company, I promise you. What you want to do is make sure that you get all the ideas in and take a long breath, go away, and come back and tell everyone in a 15-minute meeting, hey, I got it. It's just not fitting. Deadpool. People feel better. Be quick, be active, be creative. Be quick, be active, be creative. Don't sit around and try to work out everything. In fact, I encourage misspellings. Because it shows you're thinking about the idea, not your grammar. Really try to be spontaneous, active, and get the job done. Because that often is the mother of invention. I'll give you one personal story. My grandfather was awarded a Medal of Honor in the Navy. He's a chemist. He was a chemist. Why did he get the award? Of valor, bravery. He got, I don't know, 4 awards. I can't even remember all of them now. But one of them was because he invented what is known as the zero defense. As a chemist, he was sitting on the side of battleships, and believe it or not, and this is his own words, he was scared shitless of getting hit by a U-boat. And he was sitting on deck because he manned the depth charges. And he realized that they weren't working. Depth charges are only for boats that are not near you and not shooting you. Therefore, getting the boats that are hiding. So here he is floating around like a tin can, thinking he's a victim. He's going to die. And he looks at the depth charge, which, just in case you don't know what one is, looks like a 50-barrel drum, a 50-gallon barrel. And he looks at it carefully, and he's a chemist, and he says, let's see. I drop this in the water, and it goes boom. Well, wait a minute. It can't just go boom in every direction. It has to have some property to it. So he's sitting around on deck, and he realizes that if he can shape the charge inside the barrel and drop it in one direction right over the side of the ship, it creates a sonic blast. And guess what happens? Those terribly nasty torpedoes explode. So it was called the zero defense because there was no room between the ship and the bomb. He dropped it over the side of the ship. It detonated immediately. The concussion went that way, and it blew up the torpedoes. That single invention, mother of necessity, no committee, nothing, saved more ships in the first part of the war than any innovation that came up with in any kind of tactics room. It's the mother of necessity to be quick, active, and creative. Don't wait. Now, it always turns out like this. This is good. How many people look at this and think, oh, no? Come on, how many people look at this and went, oh, no, right? Be honest. Come on. Well, everybody's like, no, I look good. I do this all the time. This looks like my bathroom when I'm studying languages. No, not true. This is the kind of thing that is good ideation. And I often carve a room away in my office where no customers and no one can go, especially no investors, can go into because you don't want them to see the crazy. And you have everybody put these on the wall. And what we do is we actually make candidacy numbers, and we put numbers at the corner and say, that's a 2, that's a 5, that's a 10. And you'll find some of these stickies actually have other stickies attached to them with more numbers. This is a creative process at work. This is getting ideas done. This is not ideation, and I stopped, and I'm good. Do you know where that's failed? Can anybody give me a really great example of I came up with a brilliant idea, and I saw it through to market, and I took no other input? Can anybody give me, I'll narrow it down. In the computer sciences field, can anybody give me one example? One, I'll take one. Really good idea, excluding all input, driven to conclusion. Yeah. No, actually, no. Kodak was a bunch of good ideas that they didn't execute on. Phil Sampere is a really good friend of mine. I know. Go ahead. BlackBerry. Yeah, BlackBerry is the great example. So you win on that example. BlackBerry is an example of I have an idea, and I swear to God, everybody's going to believe me. Totally failed, right? The good news is they have one good idea that they used to do really well, and that's what they're still getting paid for. So it helps them cover up the badness. Anybody else? One more. And then I'll give you mine.
Xerox.
Huh?
Xerox.
Oh, Xerox. Yeah, Xerox is another one of those Kodak-like companies. Lots of good ideas. They're still a very profitable company based on their original work, so they're okay. They just thought the printers would never die. So yeah, they kind of just killed it. But it was already their idea they killed. I'll give you another idea. Another one is Windows 8. Windows 8. I'm sorry, it's the smartest thing in the whole world, I swear, and once everybody uses it, you'll see. You'll see. And you know what? It's not enough that it's going to fail on a PC. We're going to put it on an Xbox and a phone and a car. Trust me. If you were thinking about constant ideation, Windows 8 would not be the model of success. Now, there's a couple of different ways to do it. You can do it through the notebook. How many people have notebooks? And you keep every idea you ever wrote. Good. How many of you like to be up here in the high corner where you're the eureka seeker? I don't like that term, but it's the eureka seeker. How many of you feel like that? A couple of you? Good. Now, the idea playground is kind of where I'm going to ask you to go today. You're going to consider and you're going to play around with ideas. But the lesson of this, whether it's any one of these ideas, is that you should do all of these ideas. There should be no right answer. Every time that you look into one of these management books and you're reading it and it says, forget everything you've learned, this is the right idea, distrust it immediately. You should use all of these ideas in different contexts for different reasons. But most of all, you should never assume that the idea you've set upon is the right idea, that there might be a better one, and you just have to discover it. So here's my ratio. Now, consequently, I call it the BS detection tool. If every entrepreneur can generate 100 ideas, does that sound like a typical explanation of what an entrepreneur is? Right? No? No? Are you telling me entrepreneurs just come up with one idea and they're done? No, they come up with tons, right? How many of you worked for an entrepreneur? I mean, a real one. How many of you worked for a real entrepreneur? Do they come in every day with something crazy? Right? No? Every week? Every month? What's the frequency? Daily. Any other frequency? Hourly? Anybody? All right. They come up with ideas all the time. And every good idea, this is the rule, requires at least 100 practical steps to execute. Now that's being very generous. Very generous. So here's what I say. Then, if any entrepreneur who gives you a pile of ideas with no execution steps, consider that entrepreneur crazy. You included. You want to put your ideas up, and every time you put an idea up, take a little time with your idea. Like a seed. If you had a plant seed, and you simply said, plant seed, ha-ha, what happens then? Does it grow? No. Does it just sprout legs, or sprout roots, or sprout leaves? No. It needs things. It needs at least dirt, maybe water, hopefully. Those are two parts of the execution plan, aren't they? You can't just manifest something into nothing. It's got to have some follow-through. So the really good test, if somebody keeps walking through we used to call them idea pigeons. In fact, I have that domain. I just haven't executed on it. Or some people call them idea seagulls. They come into the office, and they walk around like they have confetti, and they just start, I have an idea, I have an idea, I have an idea. Oh, hey, how about we just turn the office purple, and let's have everybody work from home half the day, and woo! And you're like, wow, those all sound like really great ideas. But who does them? Who executes? And how do you execute? And how do you start evaluating ideas? Do you just take the ideas and you put them on a board and start saying, let's grade them 1 to 10? Oh, that's great, Steve. Thanks for giving us 50 ideas this morning. Let's all put them on sticky notes, and we'll grade them. And let's have another meeting about grading ideas. And then we'll have a meeting about the grades. And then we'll put up a performance metric and KPIs, and we'll pay you a bonus based on the ideas. That doesn't sound like a winning solution for the customer, does it? It's not. So every time you hear somebody give you a good idea, take the extra little step and say, that's a great idea. Have you thought of any follow-on steps? And they go, yeah, I have. The seed will need a pot or an entire forested area. It will need to be planted. It will need some water. At least you're starting to get to some truth. And at least you know you're not dealing with pure crazy. Now, the rules that we're going to go through are, first, discover ideas. That's always the best method. Discover your ideas, because at the end of the day, just sitting around and thinking that you had the best idea in the whole world hasn't proven to be a very successful model. It hasn't proven to be a successful model. In fact, if you look at Steve Jobs' success, he actually is not the guy who came up with the ideas. He is the guy who made them better. A lot better. His ideas came from places like Xerox PARC. His ideas came from being out in the community and discussing it with other executives who said, I have an idea, but I have no idea how to commercialize it. The Windows, the interface in the Mac OS is simply that. If you go back to an original Xerox printer, that is the UI. The history's out there. You can read it. He's the guy who didn't discover ideas. He discovered how to make them better. That's still a discovery. Try to find a clear problem. Defer judgment, like I said, even if you think you have a final product. Aim for quality and variety. Record all responses if you can possibly do it. When you're out here today, I want you to not only have the idea, but record the responses because they're important too. And here's what we're going to have you do. During the process, you're going to actually take photographs with your cell phone. And what I want you to do with that cell phone is keep those images and then put them together as part of the permanent idea record, even if you have the idea already. Because the other people who have contributed will bring insights. They'll bring different viewpoints, especially, as Ken pointed out earlier, when you realize you're from different cultures and from different countries. And it turns out some things don't work the same, that you assume, based on all of the logical information you have, should work a certain way. When you expose them to somebody else in a different culture or in a different context, those ideas no longer apply correctly. In fact, they can be embarrassing. A very great failure, in fact, one of the greatest failures, is somebody comes up with an ethnocentric idea they try to put in a different market, and it doesn't work. Naming conventions are quite frequently that. How many people know the car brand Citroën? Okay. Can anybody tell me what it means? What's the meaning? What's the meaning of Citroën? There's French people here. Come on, huh? What? No. Citroën. Citroën, huh? Lemon. 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 Citroën. Lemon. Why? Because the French like lemons and it was a nice color. Guess what happens when it comes to America and they market Citroën? Does anybody know what the connotation means when you buy a lemon car? Bad car. Guess what happens? Sales go through the floor. And then they're trying to figure it out with everything. The car rides good. It's got all these technological feature. Oh, everything's great. Except for the guy who had the idea about calling it Citroën. Bad idea. Aim for quality. And again, record all responses. So just please, aim for quality. Do try to get this done correctly. Now, here's what I'd like you to do. Get responses quickly. This is a round-robin exercise. Everybody puts their idea up, and then try to rotate. If you're again, I understand from looking at the documents that you're split basically into two groups. One group who thinks they've already won the game and have ideas. How many of you have already won some contest or something with your idea? Great. You're that group. The other group is a bunch of people who don't know, but they were assigned the idea to get some ideas and bring some core seminal ideas to this party. And you're going to do the same thing. You're going to write your idea on a board, and then once it's down and you've written some ideas about your idea down on the whiteboards that are going to be out here, I'd like you then to sell your idea. And you have two audiences. The audience of the uncommitted, people who do not have an idea, and people who do not have an idea to get. So you go sell them and get them on your team. Or you review the other models and see if you can critique them or get on their team. You have plenty of time to do it today. At the end of this period, roughly 45 minutes, we're going to have you come in, and each of the assigned team leaders is going to pitch their idea up here for the undecided. Then when I follow up with you tomorrow, I'd like to see your progress, and we'll talk more about that later. But the idea is that you want to respond quickly, respond only during your turn. So I don't want to hear a lot of talk over. I don't want to go to a whiteboard and somebody say, my idea is cold fusion, and the other person say, well, cold fusion's never happened. No, I know it's never happened, but it's going to happen. Well, I don't think it's going to happen. No, let's not have that argument. It doesn't look good, and it doesn't help get the ideas done. Put your idea up. Do you have any other ideas? Well, can we have something like, temperate fusion? Let them put that on the board. And then go through the cycle. Have everyone comment. But there are no bad ideas. Remember what I said. There are no bad ideas. And then step back when you're asked something. The first reaction we always have is this. That's our first reaction. Defend your idea. Be strong. Be committed. That's not what you want to do in this exercise. What you want to do in this exercise is put your idea forward, and when somebody challenges you, asks a serious question about its content, take a conscious step back and think about it. Give a thoughtful reply and make sure it's documented. The way I do that is I actually say, hold on a second, let me make sure I have it right, and I write down their idea or their complementary sub-idea to my idea, whatever that is, and I take a minute and then say, okay, can you clarify that, or let me state what you just said and make sure I have it right. And that, you'll find, should make for an easier, smoother discussion. Here are the terms you want to try to solve for. You've all heard these terms: who, what, where, when, why, and how. If you haven't heard these, write them down right now because you'll need them. Who are you affecting? What will it take for them to adopt? Where will they adopt it? When will they adopt it? Why will they change their behavior to adopt it? And how will that happen? If you can't answer all of these questions for your product, then you have a problem with your product management. If any one of these turns out to be, we'll figure that out when we get there, and you're starting from that, consider yourself starting with a -10 on your report card. It's just too hard to overcome. Really, really good ideas really have a natural sense of this. I'll give you an example in our case. Who will use the networking tool? Any real mid-level service engineer, technician, network administrator. What will they do with it? They're going to diagnose their network. Now, by the way, I haven't even been at the company yet, so I'm just giving you what the easy blurb is. You know, what's all the patterns, how they're going to solve it. Where are they going to do it? They're usually going to do it in a data center or an IT center. They'd prefer to do it at home. When are they going to do it? Well, they're going to do it 24/7. That's the beauty of that customer segment. Because, it's, as you know, if you do anything in networks, when the system goes down in an e-commerce system, what's that mean? Get out of bed, get it fixed. So our people are 24/7. Why? Because they can support the information with our tool, and they can be successful. How? They're going to do it on a laptop today. Tomorrow, they're going to do it on an iPad. I can answer all these questions right off the bat. You should be able to do the same thing. This helps, by the way, if you have this memorized in addition to your elevator pitch, because it's a nice follow-up. Here's my idea. I want cold fusion. They go, what's the benefit? The benefit is that you can have portable energy for everybody in the world, even in a tent, and it could last for weeks, if not years. Yay. How? Well, who's it going to attend to? Anybody who fits this profile. It could fit anybody, but I'm choosing to fit the guys in tents. Cold fusion can solve world peace, but I'm choosing to take my cold fusion and solve campers. What? It's going to be a small little reactor that's going to be able to fit in a backpack. Where? Anytime they're out in the forest and away from power for more than, let's say, 12 hours. When? Well, we expect to have that done in about 12 months. Why? Well, why not? I always love that one. Well, why not? You can have a more pragmatic answer, but it's okay. Go ahead. Both. Yeah, I did that on purpose, right? I did that on purpose. I wanted to see, first off, how many of you catch it, but it's an on-purpose thing. It can be either, as long as it's clear. Okay. Yes, because not always do you have a product that's absolutely specific. So I gave you a very specific network one, and I gave you a more hypothetical one where I was selling the value proposition. So very good eye on you. You get points. When you're selling hypothetical, when you're selling ideas, you have to act like it's a real product, right? And that's what that little example did, and you caught on. Very good. Oh, I thought there was one more slide. I'm sorry. All right, so since there's not one more slide that says ask questions, please ask questions before we go on the exercise. I'm trying to stay on time, so I'm cutting my time short. Yes?
What do you do if your ideas is really similar to some of the big startups like Airbnb?
So what if your idea is so too similar to an existing product or company? Find your differentiation. Find out that very small one piece of magic that's going to set you apart. Because If it's truly, I mean truly as the founder, you think your product is too similar to everybody else's, then you haven't done all your homework. And if it truly is that way, you should have more ideation going on, because that will spur you to find one key differentiation that you might need. I'll give you one primary example of this. Uber is a great example. When Uber started, nobody understood what Uber's about. The world is just about to see what Uber really is about. Uber was a brilliant marketing campaign based on a very specific set of algorithms that do a very specific thing in time demand management, resource demand management. You're about to see them do that where it's gone off and it's going to do moving furniture and a bunch of other stuff, and the list goes on and on. You're going to see this differentiation occur, and that's your point. What's the differentiation? By the time somebody actually figures out, like Lyft did, oh, they did an app for taxis. We can do an app for taxis, just better. Uber's like, did that, and they're on to the next thing. So companies that go the mile have already got that idea stream well mapped. Okay? Yeah.
So you said it's important to actually do ideation and
Yes.
constantly doing the path of the company.
Yes.
But what's the balance between ideation and execution? Because you still have to execute on those ideas. You cannot still constantly generate new ones without executing on them.
No, false. It's a misconception. You absolutely keep ideating. You control the ideation in a place like Cold Fusion so it doesn't blow up the world. No, you really do. You contain it. What I've been saying through this whole presentation is put it in safe places. When I showed you the board with all the stickies, I said don't put that in the center of the building. Put it in a room where no one can see it, like customers and investors. That's the worst thing you can do. You want it contained in a place, but you never want it to stop. Yes, you definitely want it. You definitely want to contain, because you don't want to. I'll tell you, especially with engineers, you do not want to contaminate the pool. Right? You don't want them going off and saying, oh, I heard you mention that telepathy thing, and I kind of prototyped it. Yeah, that's bad. So don't do that. But definitely try to get those people. Actually, it works in your favor. You'll find it's a tipping point. There's a management style of non-ideation that says, we have to control everything, strike out variance, blah, 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 blah. And then what ends up happening is that compression prevents employees from actually ideating, and it forces them out to do other things. Google's the opposite, right? Google's all about the ideation, and then they sponsor ideation. They actually went overboard for a while where they were just creating too much churn, but that churn has reduced now. It's called, it's managed to a large degree, so it's kind of getting at your point. But you want to make sure that you don't compress people so much that you force them out of the system. That actually is the history of most innovation. Hudson, the car company, if you haven't seen the movie, watch it. It's a great example where the big players pushed Hudson out, and he went off and created a car company. Then they had to go kill him. I mean, that's not that's not what you want to do. I mean, a real good industry isn't, let's compress our employees to the point where they run away and we try to kill them later for their idea. That's really not the model, right? So don't do that in technology. Yes.
Are you familiar with the recent pivot that TaskRabbit took?
The what?
The pivot that
Yeah.
TaskRabbit took?
Yes, very much so.
Think about sort of coming out with the idea at the beginning and trying to just find people to do everything for you versus targeting niche markets.
There's two parts to that story. One is that's their business, so that's a very different animal. The second part is that that's an example of a company like Uber who had a roadmap to start with from ideation, and they kept that ideation going up so they were there ready for the opportunity when it matured. They already had an idea they were executing on, and they had ideas they were waiting for, and they tripped those ideas into action once they realized the market was ready. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's sort of like doing one thing really well and then supplementary.
And having a pipeline that's putting pressure on you to move ahead. Yeah, that's a better way of saying it, so thank you for that. Yeah, it's better having, it's ideate, execute, but have enough ideation in the pipeline that is like water pressure. It's driving the pump. And you're constantly like, boy, if we could just get... Actually, the prior speaker is a great example of that. He had all the ideas, and he was managing cash flow. In fact, my last company, all we did was manage cash flow. We're a self-spun $6 million a year business on hardware in the United States and test and measurement, so it's not a sexy business. But the reality is that we had a whole pipeline of opportunity based on the amount of cash we had in the bank. And we kept looking at the cash in the bank against the opportunity. Those ideas were all laid out. And the minute they looked even reasonably possible, we started pushing them into the pipeline. And to be honest, versus another idea that we thought was going to be the forerunner. So we had a bunch of ideas, and we had some that we actually had started investing in, and we put like 6 months of effort in, and then we realized, nope, this idea is actually going to win. So we moved that one ahead. But we already had them. They were all fleshed out. They already had, you know, engineering bombs and a whole bunch of stuff done. So it wasn't like we were starting cold, right? Hold on, let me get somebody else.
I was just saying, it's sort of like killing your own cash cow before someone else can.
Yeah, actually, so I'll follow up with that. This company, we actually discovered after doing an analysis that remanufacturing from China was actually eating our bottom line, and they were using those remanufactured products to eat our service line. So they were actually selling remanufactured products of ours and then telling those customers, look, go to the total phase anyway because they already made it. I was just selling it to you cheaper. So we were eating two ends. We lost the sale and we were eating the service. So yeah, it can work both ways. I saw another one. Yeah.
What's the difference between needs finding, where you're kind of looking for a problem, and like it seems like a lot of your ideas is like, here's a solution to this problem?
No. What I'm saying is, if you're going to go on a needs hunt, that's just an interview process, right? That's like you're echoing the lean model. The lean model is valuable when you start to refine the opportunity, when you're starting to work into the business model. What I'm talking about in ideation is you really want to really take the brakes off your ideas. And if you want to go needs finding and hunting around, you know, like sitting outside of Starbucks and finding out, for instance, that their seats are bad and you could build new seats that are better, but you're doing it because you're idea fishing, you know, sitting out there, that's cool. That's totally cool. That's not ideation, though. Right? You want to take it back somewhere, either by, I mean, I don't care whether the idea hits you because you got struck by lightning or because you discovered it at Starbucks or your mother came in and said, you know, I don't like the way my toaster toasts, and you know, Mom, let me think about it and I'll come up with a better toaster. However come the need or the problem space, better you have one. The next step is to ideate it into some form or continue to look at the opportunities to improve that need, and then get lean and go out and see customers with something to work with. But I really don't advocate getting up in the morning and saying, you know, socks are all wrong. I can do socks better. And then you start walking out with, you know, and showing people. And they're like, what are you talking about? There's no tangible use case, right? It's hard for people to grok that. So don't push that too hard. It's great, but that's not this. I saw a question back here somewhere, didn't I? No? Are we good? Because we'll go right into the next phase. Everybody good? No questions. This is your last chance before you're stuck on the whiteboards. Any questions about the directions I gave about how to do this? Yeah, somebody's pointing. But yeah.
Don't you sort of consider about the expertise with the team? Because, yeah, you have a lot of ideas, but it's not your expertise. You're not really good at it.
Yeah, remember this, and I'm going to say it very, very sincerely. Don't be a sucker for data bias. If you get a bunch of experts in the room, what are you going to come up with? An expert answer about that thing. You have no outside influence. It's a very dangerous thing. In the ideation phase, you want to actually not count on expertise. You want to try to find a little tiny bit of outside influence. If you look back at the history of the difference between Sony and Honda, those are great examples of data bias. Honda continues to produce innovative projects from Asimo to, you know, cars to you know, different kinds of fusion engines. They're all over the map, largely because both they do need hunting. Secondly, they're very, very keen on the fact that none of their engineers are verticalized and siloed. Sony, back in their heyday in the late 80s, early 90s, siloed all of their services into verticals. And that's how you ended up with the problem. They had too much data bias. So everything was just like, well, we make a really great this, and we make a really great that, and we make a this, and then when they looked at their peers and their self-representation, they actually had a policy in the early days that only people who were PhDs in their given area could comment on the ideas. Well, that's really inbreeding. I mean, if you want trouble, that's the surest way to, you know, because what happens is everybody says, look, we invented the submarine with screen doors, you know, because you never know when you're going to be on the surface and you need screen doors for a submarine. And they're all like, yeah, we've done a thesis on this. It works perfectly. I'm sure of it. In fact, I have all the data that backs it up. If you don't open the window in a submarine, then you won't have water intrusion. Now look, I have a PhD thesis that says so. It's perfect. It's foolproof. You know, and if that's a problem, then just have better user diagrams and then blame the user in customer service trials. They'll be dead anyway, don't worry. That's what happens when you have that kind of data bias. Do not encourage data bias. Because it's very likely that somebody will come along and say, you put screens, you know, I'm no rocket scientist, but screens on a submersible vehicle seems risky. And it might be the best idea you ever heard. All right? Is that fair? Okay. Remember, don't have data bias if you can at all help it. Especially when you're walking around here. If you have a team and you've already won the idea, my highest recommendation is leave this room, put your idea on the board because it is the winner and you know it, and then go leave the board immediately, and go find the people who are walking around here who have not settled on an idea or do not have an idea and see if you can recruit them. And then see what happens. Don't ask them their qualification. Don't ask them what they do. Ask nothing. Simply get them involved. All right? No more questions. We'll move to the next phase, which I believe is my calling, right? Are we good? Next phase? Yeah. Okay. All right. Here's the assignment. Simple. Go to a whiteboard. Write your ideas down. If you're already a team, possess a board. If you don't have an idea or no team, grab a white paper and make a board. Good luck, everyone. Yep. Okay, everyone. Everyone. I just love that word. Hey, so everybody who doesn't know, hasn't met me before, my wife is an elementary school teacher. She's a very accomplished teacher across the bay. And one of the things that happened, because we're in different whole career tracks, is I get to observe her classes every so often. And one of the things I noticed years ago, about 20 years ago when she first really started teaching, was they had just started doing a lot of these techniques to get children to behave or to pay attention or whatever. And this thing was one of them. And it was funny because not until this year, the age curve has gotten up to where those students first exposed to that are actually college students. So 2 or 3 years ago when I was here and we were having a class and it was hard to control everyone, I actually did a couple of those, and they all worked perfectly, right? And even you clapped back, so thank you. But when I went home and told my wife, I said, you won't believe what just happened. That works. And here's the funny part. She said, well, you know, we've actually stopped doing that. So it won't happen for all the new students. All right, so how did everyone find that exercise? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. What do you think? Thumbs up? All right, how many thumbs down? Don't be bashful. If you didn't like it, it's good. You got a thumbs down? Got a couple of them. Good, good, good. I like that. Tomorrow, we're going to develop a little bit more of the thumbs up, thumbs down thing. But here's what I want you to do right now, because this is going to do something for us in the program. I'd like to reserve this section of chairs, just this section, and I'd like to call up the people who have not committed to an idea. Please stand. If you have not committed to an idea, please stand. And then please come to that. Wow. Please come and sit over there if there's any room left. Please come and sit on the left if you have not chosen an idea. My goodness. My goodness. Oh my God, look at this. We got idea flight. Well, no, you have an idea. No, you just don't want to be with the crowd, do you, man? You're not a joiner, are you? Do you have an idea? You like it? Good, stay there. All right, hold it. This is great. All right, so I'll tell you what. Just overflow into these 2 rows. Right here, these 2 rows, overflow, right there. Right there. Okay, those of you, while these people settle, those of you who do have a group, reseat yourself with your group. Reseat yourself with your group. Okay, right on. That was much faster. All right, everyone, hold on. Here we go. I want to try to get everybody on time so you're not here suffering through extended meetings that don't count. All right, what just happened? What just happened? I split the people up? No, somebody didn't do a good job here, people. Half the class isn't sold. What happened here? Really? Didn't have a lot of time. Well, guess what? That's the beauty of my exercise. I'll be right with you. You get more time. You get tonight, and you get to come back tomorrow morning when I check in on you. Go ahead. What's that?
As presenters, we didn't make our needs known.
Right, right. You didn't make your needs known. Exactly. And that's very common. You didn't make your needs known. Here's an opportunity. I don't want you to be really careful about this. And I'm speaking to everyone over here. You have ideas that you have to, by definition, think are precious. How many of you think your ideas suck over here? Come on, be honest. You do? Because you're a dude alone? Do you have somebody on your team? Not yet. I like that. All right, hold on. That's good. Not yet. Quiet, quiet, quiet. So look, you all did a terrible job because if you think your ideas are so freaking good, then somebody should have said, yeah, I'm down. Half the class is sitting over here. Man, that's something wrong with the first stage of ideation. You didn't get your needs presented correctly. The value prop wasn't clear. They were still shopping too heavy. But remember I put that slide up with the, okay, so this is what has to happen, people. Everybody has to do the 9-volt battery test tonight. Because you all didn't give that shock that made people go, yeah, I got to be part of this. Okay? So your job tomorrow, when you come back, is I want to hear from you guys that you have a pitch or a story or an idea about your key thing that's going to get people to convert to you. Now I hammered on the people who already had an idea because they're easy targets. What's wrong with you people? Really? Not one of you came up with an idea that you believed in yourself? Huh? You did. I figured you would. What happened?
I guess I'm still bouncing the idea off other things.
Still bouncing the, still looking for validation. Yeah, that's fair. That's okay. I think, weren't you the one who said you were looking for you were going to do dumpster diving on ideas? Right?
I've already been doing that.
Okay, cool. So the rest of you didn't see anything in this crowd that was intriguing?
I saw more than one thing.
More than one thing. How many, wait, okay, this is great. How many more than one things? Let's go. How many more than one things? Awesome. Look at this. I got 8 people over here who you guys didn't motivate. It's not that these people over here had their own idea and couldn't get people to join. It's not that they weren't interested in any of your ideas. It's that you all had good ideas that you didn't work hard enough to sell. There's 8 people over here who are prime targets for you. You just don't know who they are. This is the startup dilemma. Somebody came through your door. Think about it in simple terms. Somebody came through your store. They saw your products, and they turned around and walked right out without buying anything. Man, if that doesn't take the air out of your sails, I don't know what will. That's the key part of entrepreneurship. You want to be in the place where these undecided voters voted on you. And there's 8 of them. So I'm going to tell you what. The people who put their arm up because there's more than one idea, you're valid. Get up. Get up. Stand up. Stand up. Stand up. Come up on stage for me. Come on up. That's great. That's great. Now I'm going to leave the rest of you for a minute. First off, these people represent your target. You just don't know, who they are yet because you didn't tell them yet, right? They don't. Do you think they have an idea of how to go after you now? No, you guys are right? Okay, you're the secret shoppers, so you guys don't say nothing. You guys are you're in the seat of power. You have to find a home by tomorrow. All right? Win, lose, or draw, here's the game. You can't go home empty-handed. You can't do it. And tomorrow what I want, when I first come in here, is I want everybody tonight to put their ideas up again, wherever you are. You post it on the board, you put it on a phone call, you do a chain email, you do whatever it is to get your idea up. Shop that idea, even if it's done. Even if it's done. Even if you think you're a winner, and some of you think you are, be done. Get buy-in, and I don't want any seats left over tomorrow. Everyone finds a home. Everyone finds a home, and here's the deal. I've already taken these lovely people out of play. They know they're going to have a home because they had more than one love. They just weren't sold. So you all have to sell. You guys are the ones with a little bit harder job. Either find an idea or group together or do something, or force these people to make you buy their product. Force them. Force them by getting in their face and saying, you didn't sell me now. You got it? Is that hard instructions? Tomorrow, when I have you come in here, I got 30 minutes. And in that 30 minutes, here's what I expect to see. 100% enrollment. 100% enrollment. And I want to see the team sitting together. So you better do that before you come in. Otherwise, you're going to be doing seat jockeying in the morning when you don't want to. So hopefully tonight, and by tomorrow morning, when you first come in this room, you're going to be already aligned. There won't be a group over here anymore. All right? And then I want you to come up and tell me what your idea is, and I'd like it done in a minute. We have a lot of people, and I'd like it done in a minute. A simple minute, an elevator pitch, a minute. Not 3, not 5, not a run-on sentence. I got up this morning, and I really liked my Wheaties, and everything was good, and then I put some milk, and then I feel stronger, and I'm awake now, and by the way, I make bowls. Okay, that's not going to work. Okay? Is anybody unclear about my very complex instructions? No? All right, everybody give a hand to this group, please. And the rest of you think very carefully. Have a nice day. You're free. Thank you for coming up. All right, Victoria needs to come up. I don't know where she's at. I don't want to monopolize the time. I think she's shocked because we're back on schedule. Hang on a second, everyone. Any questions while I'm trying to get that coordinated? Any questions at all? Any questions? Yes? I don't know. Tonight there's a mentor. I think tonight there's mentor sessions. Right? Somewhere in here. Yeah, I mean, we go until 9 p.m. for optional idea sessions and everything. So try to get people involved throughout the process. Yes. 1 second. They can be as big. I mean, you know, preferably it's more than one person. But here's the thing. It's got to be more than one person, and it's got to be none of these people sitting alone. Okay? So if all of these people can get on your idea, I think you're going to be the winner. That's fair. Yeah.
So I only talked to 4 people.
Yeah.
2 of them are really interested, and so I actually got connection right there through my potential customer partners.
Yes.
So I don't even know if that, you know, I mean, if you want me to set an internal stage, sell 100 people, I can do it, but build that one by one is really hard.
I know, huh?
I mean, it's actually the same thing again.
I know, huh? I know, right?
And
Wow! That, right?
why don't you give me a chance to say in front of 100 people and say once?
Yeah, you know why?
Yeah.
Easy way out. You know, when you are an entrepreneur, and I'll say this in closing because I'm going to be a minute over our time. I know exactly what you're saying. And let me tell you, the sad truth is, it's always a one-on-one game. Very rarely do you ever get the chance to succeed. And I have run Demo. I don't know, it's an older group. TechCrunch. I have been involved in both sides of the house. I helped run the organization. I've run hackathons for Microsoft. I've been in them. I've won them. I have raised, I don't know, I forgot the last count. It was something like $250 million. And every single time, and I am not kidding, I am trying to think of an example where it's not true. I cannot think of an example where it's not true. There is always one-to-one selling. You will never go on stage, you will never do a presentation like this, and I will never present to my company to you in a way that you walk out of here, especially as an investor and most definitely as a customer, where I walk off the stage and you flat write me a check. It never happens. So even though you feel good about yourself because you're telecasting your message, and I don't know, but maybe I'm wrong, it could happen, right? It can happen. That perhaps you are some kind of prophet. And I'd be happy to know that. And if that happens to you and you go, here's my idea, and da-da-da-da, and you walk off the stage and any one of the two major constituents, a customer or an investor, come in and drop a check on you, you call me immediately because I want to be the next check in your deal. Yeah?
I don't know if you've had a chance to talk a little bit about what's happening later on this evening. Do people know?
I was just going to get to that. You're right. Because we had a question, but I didn't get to it. There was one more question. Somebody raised their hand in the middle of the pack. Yes? No? Yeah? No? Okay. So tonight, I'm supposed to sell this. Tonight, as of 5:30, there's a tour of the Skydeck Accelerator, and the crowd come. I am. That's why. Oh, that's tomorrow, right? Dang. I got fired. All right. So I thought so. I don't remember saying that. Optional evening sessions based on idea generation here, and there are optional breakout areas for the same, and that'll go from 5:30 to 9 p.m. tonight. So mentors will include myself, Jason, who's an excellent, real active person in these companies, Ada, Thibault, Peter, Saad, I don't know actually, Anne.
It's an opportunity, especially, and I wasn't in the room, but I have this feeling that this room feels so heavy on this side because these people don't have teams yet. Is that possible?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. So this is a real opportunity this evening to work on the ideas and work on your teams more, and you will get face-to-face with a bunch of mentors. People will hold hands a little bit more, so you won't feel maybe so empty and milling around if you need that. So Stephen is going to talk a little bit more about ideation, and then you'll have different breakout rooms that you can use.
So let me point out what I think might be key points to get you over the hump. One of them is that you probably, aside from your needs statement, you weren't very clear about the value versus the features and functions. It's very, very normal, especially for technically oriented people or business people who simply want to get you to commit, to say things that are features and functions. It's blue, it's green, I'm right, you're wrong. Here's the thing. That's not what you're trying to sell. What you're trying to sell, and the best thing you can sell ever, is a promise. And to close, can anyone tell me what Disney sells? And I will take hands. I don't want everybody blurting it out. But you need to tell me exactly, and I'll give you a framework, what it is that if you ran into an executive at Disney, and most likely a janitor at Disney, they would give the same exact answer. That's what I'm looking for. It's what Disney sells. Go ahead.
Is it dreams?
No.
Joy.
No.
Happiness.
Yes. Winner. Happiness. Disney sells happiness, and it's the one thing that you as a business unit can be cut for, and it's the one thing as an employee you can be fired for. If you are not able to tell anyone who walks up to you that Disney, no matter what business they're in, whether it's they own ESPN or a movie theater or a float or a software company, and the single message that is being conveyed through that experience is happiness, and you do not say happiness, you are cut or fired. And that is probably why you did not sell this group. They did not understand what you were selling. What you told them was, I have a cable network, and I have an amusement park, and I have little people who dress up in animal costumes, and a rat. Rat's going to be big.
If I may,
Yeah, you may.
as for me, and I like to mention because Marcus might not be as well.
Actually, can you use this because whatever you're asking is going to be helpful for everybody.
Sure. As for me, and my case might not be isolated, I didn't settle for any projects, not because I didn't understand them, but because I felt I could not contribute to them in that they were too static, too definite, they were already matured, and so
No, that's good.
impossible to.
You
so
two need to
that-
get-
That's the real issue, I think.
Got it. So let me restate it for everybody. You're saying that you didn't feel like you could contribute mostly because maybe the idea was already done, was already formed, or that you didn't have expertise to contribute to whatever you thought was already established.
The idea and the execution as well.
And the execution. So you need to get together with him at least and explain needs. So would you do that? How he explains what his needs are and whether he can see if you have something that maybe internally you'll discover. But listen to what's being said here. It's exactly the instruction I gave you, and not to do it. Not to do this. He feels that your ideas are already solidified and that there's no room to contribute, and it wasn't made clear to him that of what the skills or the participation you could favor or value is. And I'll bet you, even if half the audience isn't really thinking about that, that's probably a subtle inside dialogue. They don't know, or they believe that you have already made up your mind. Now, let me ask you one simple question. Do you think that's in any way going to help you succeed? I told you when you went out of this room, if you thought you had an idea and you were already a winner, you were already a loser. Get these people on board because they're a proxy for your customer. All right? I'll talk to you tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, Stephen.